What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So shout out to the original creators, and as always, this is just for commentary and educational purposes only. So at Kamala Harris's recent book launch, things got really heated, right? Protesters showed up and, they were calling her name, saying that her legacy is genocide because of the whole situation, in Palestine. But, Kamala stood her ground. She said, oh, I'm not the president. I don't make those calls, and all of that. But she's right? If you ask me, she contested and America didn't vote for her. Well, a lot of Americans didn't vote for her. But I'll let you watch the clips and then I'll come back with what I think about it.
Your legacy is genocide! The blood of the Palestinians is on your hands! You pledged your full support for Israel while they shot babies, while they blew babies.
Let's bring it, let's bring the temperature down. Let's bring the temperature down. Unlike the current president of the United States, bring the temperature down, guys. I understand what's happening right now in Gaza. What is happening to the Palestinian people is outrageous and it breaks my heart. I get it. I'm not president right now. There's nothing I can do.
So let me get this straight. You didn't vote for Kamala Harris, who was running to be president of the United States, right? If she would have won, she could have done something with Israel and Palestine. But now that she's a private citizen and she's going on a book tour, you're blaming her for what Donald Trump is doing, whom is the current president and whom is literally making things worse for Palestine and in Gaza? Is that what I'm making? Is that what I'm understanding? Because make it make sense. You didn't want her to be president. You didn't vote for her, but now you're blaming her for everything that's happening. The audacity, the balls, literally, you have to be mental to think in such a way. I need you to have the same energy and go with the president who's making all the decision about Palestine and Gaza at the moment. Okay? He is the one giving billions of dollars to Israel to fight the Palestinian people, to starve the Palestinian people in Gaza. So leave Kamala Harris alone. She's a private citizen. She's on her book tour. She has nothing to do with politics. As a matter of fact, her Vice President Protection Service was taken away by Donald Trump. So go protest the orange man in the White House. How about that?
Are we ready to have an honest conversation about the fact that it was never about Kamala Harris's politics and her ability to lead, and had everything to do with the fact that she's a black woman? Y'all said y'all main problem was that y'all didn't want her in office because you didn't think she was going to do anything about it. Now she's not in office and holds no official authority, and y'all are showing up to her book signing to protest? Meanwhile, y'all could just show up to the actual president and vice president's events to protest. Y'all could show up to where Joe Biden is at and protest, since he was the actual former president and had the actual authority while he was sitting in the seat. But instead, y'all chose to protest a book tour for a black woman who has no political authority. Now, I wasn't able to find the clip of them protesting, but I did find this clip of people telling them to get out.
Get out! Talk to your president! Talk to somebody else.
I'ma keep saying that this had everything to do with the fact that she's a black woman, because if y'all recall, Joe Biden was vice president at one point. And did you know that the same thing that's happening over in Gaza was happening in many countries in Africa? And y'all didn't protest when he was running for office. Okay.
It's either racism or you're getting paid. It's either racism or you're getting paid. Because ain't no way you're trying to tell me Palestinian protesters showed up to Kamala Harris's book event. A private citizen who, if you voted for her in 2024, you can argue with her in 2025. Why aren't you in DC? Why aren't you protesting Trump? He's the one in office, in case you haven't been following along for the past 9 months. No? Okay. So here's the thing. You can continue to say that you care about the people of Palestine, yet you have not organized anything against Donald Trump. Because why not? You're scared. You can yell at the black lady who you know is going to give you grace. And you can continue to say that her and Donald Trump would be the exact same on this issue. Because you can rest on the theory that she would be the same. But you don't actually want to give her a chance to change things that she said needed to be changed had you read her book, right? She acknowledged that this is a complex issue, but people that only care about Palestine, that don't care about any of the other atrocities, both foreign and domestic, they only laser focus on this one thing, is because of racism, or you're getting paid to do it. Throwing all of your ire at the black lady who did quite literally nothing to get us in the war, to create an ally out of Israel, nothing. She didn't pass law. She didn't write legislation. She didn't vote for legislation. She could not do anything besides be an advocate for peace, as she was doing every other day while she was VP of this country. She did everything humanly possible. And all y'all saw was black lady in charge, can't be me. I refuse to be ran by a lady and I refuse for her to be black. It's either racism or you're getting paid. Because now I feel like we should follow the money. Because how do you have this much time and energy to protest a lady that is a private citizen? You must be getting paid for it. You gotta be getting paid for it. Because you don't care about Palestine. You don't care about Gaza. I'm going to the event in Philadelphia tonight. I hope I'm sitting near a bitch that wants to protest. Because I want your face to be plastered all around these parts so people can know the face of the person or people that will protest a black lady but won't stand up to a white man. Okay? All right. You guys have a good one.
Those protesters showing up to Kamala's book tour is the equivalent of somebody coming up to you asking for help while you're on break at work. Like, I actually cannot help you. I'm on break. Actually, I don't even work here anymore. Like, to keep it a buck, I don't work here anymore. I only came up here to see my friends. So maybe you should go talk to somebody else that actually is on the clock. Cause I can't help you. My credentials don't work for the system anymore, Bookie. Like, I actually got fired. So I really don't know how to help you. I just feel like that protest would have meant a little bit more if you actually went somewhere where it actually would have had some type of impact. But the person that you were protesting actually still has some power. I'm sure the goal of the protest was more so to gain media attention. However, maybe do that somewhere where there's some real impact. She has nothing to do with what's going on anymore, unfortunately. Y'all didn't pick her. You didn't pick her. And it's the fact that in order for you to be there, you had to pay to be there. So you essentially wasted your money to go protest an event where the person that's hosting the event can't even assist you. Okay. But I am happy that Kamala handled that situation with class and grace, because that's what you do. Me, I would put their ass out.
White people talking about Kamala Harris makes me very, very uncomfortable, because you guys are calling yourself leftist when you guys are racist as shit. And that alone makes me understand that this is never a conversation that can happen on social media, because you guys are not serious.
I feel like that's like going to Burger King and complaining about your fries from McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, my fries were cold. They were frigid. What are you going to do to fix it? Nothing. I work at Burger King. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm not elected. Y'all had y'all plan. Y'all pulled it off. She didn't get elected. And how in the world are y'all still showing up being like, yo, go talk to the administration. What you going to do about Gaza? Nothing. I'm not in charge. And then I even seen comments like, oh, this conflict started with Biden and Harris. It's like, what? Lupe Fiasco talked about Gaza Strip and what happened to them back in like 2012. Just because y'all just now find out about it and trying to play righteousness, you know what I'm saying? Like the moral game. It's like, it's just wild to me. Like, if you got an issue, go to the current administration. Why are y'all still bothering this woman? She, like, when I check her track record, what she has done as a prosecutor and all that, I will never understand why y'all dislike her so much. There are people that have done way worse and said way worse. And for some reason, she's the one y'all want to get the negative energy to. I don't care what race you think she is or how you feel about her laugh. The work that she has done speaks for itself if you've done any research. But y'all coming to her, what about what you gonna do to Gaza? Nothing. Go talk to the dude that y'all made sure who won instead of the person that y'all made sure lost.
Protester. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not on here to argue whether or not these individuals have the moral high ground on this issue, because I think they do. I think what's happening in Palestine to the Palestinian people is one of the worst humanitarian crises in the history of that region, in the history of Middle Eastern politics, and certainly within our lifetime. But the application of these folks' moral outrage and condemnation is stupid, it's nonsensical, it's confounding, and it's contradictory. Why in the world are American pro-Palestinian protesters protesting Kamala Harris in 2025? Why? Kamala Harris, I'll remind you, is a private citizen. She's a private citizen in large part thanks to the work of these protesters in 2024. Might I remind you that one of the key tenets of the American pro-Palestinian protester was that the foreign policy approach and application of Kamala Harris was indistinguishable from what Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and Pete Hegseth would bring forth should they be elected. Well, guess what? We are in the timeline where Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and Pete Hegseth have been elected. And what's happened in the region that these folks claim to care about so much? Well, Gaza's been flattened. Benjamin Netanyahu has been emboldened. And as I mentioned earlier, we are further away from peace and a two-state solution than we have been since the 7-Day War. And yet, and still, these Palestinian protesters, they're protesting Kamala Harris, a private citizen. She's not president of the United States. She's not vice president of the United States. She has effectively no more power than the people who are protesting her. Why is that? Well, I have a couple of theories. The first, perhaps the most obvious one, is because these individuals know that they can't protest Donald Trump or J.D. Vance and remain as safe and as vocal as they have been. They're doing this because they want to remain in the spotlight without bringing themselves bodily harm. The other theory, I think, is a bit more complicated. You see, I think these folks are having a hard time sitting and wrestling with the two truths that they found out real fast after the 2024 election. The first of those truths is that voting is about harm reduction. You might not have liked everything that Kamala Harris had to offer, but the idea that she was a worse option than Donald Trump was nonsensical. The second of those truths is that purity politics in this country as a strategy is a losing one. What happens when you do that, folks? Well, you end up with the worst case scenario. That's where we are now. And that's why I think these individuals are still protesting a woman that they decided shouldn't be president of the United States. Because they simply cannot live in reality, a reality that they helped create.
Hey, real quick, there's no point of talking about Palestine anymore. Because if you're only showing up to Kamala Harris's events and you're not taking that same energy to the White House, your performative activism means nothing. Demanding Kamala Harris atone for actions she didn't do is wild. It's insane. People are saying that she deserves to be boycotted for the rest of her life at every teaching event because she was complicit. Mind you, I agree that it's insane that she has not called it a genocide. Why isn't she called it a genocide? That's insane. What I'm saying is, if she called it a genocide then or now, it doesn't change the fact that she still was the only candidate on any ticket to call for a ceasefire and a two-state solution. You can say it's just words. You can say she didn't mean it. You can say she didn't publicly say these things out loud, even though we have evidence to the contrary. You can say all those things. But you also forget that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris got a ceasefire deal January of this year. And Netanyahu pulled out. So all the things you wanted her to do happened. It didn't stick. Because why should it? Why would it? Netanyahu could just wait for Donald Trump. So why would Israel try? Kamala Harris has always supported Israel. Kamala Harris was openly critical of Netanyahu. Two of those things can exist at the same time. He actively ignored her in meetings. She talked about apologizing for cutting them off at that first campaign event because it was tone deaf and it made it seem like she didn't care. She cared. She openly said she cared. You wanted her to fix a problem before she got elected without the power of the presidency. Mind you, she openly talked about that Joe Biden's own administration did not want to tout her accomplishments to make her seem competent. Looks like it worked because propaganda works for the left and the right. Always remember that. All the vitriolic things that Donald Trump said about Kamala Harris, Joe Biden's White House did not defend at all. It didn't correct the record at all. Acting like a black woman has carte blanche to do whatever the fuck she wants in this America. Acting like racism isn't still a thing that we have to constantly deal with. Acting like she was a co-president as opposed to a vice president is wild. So you can splice and dice and Julian all you want, the facts. However, the fact of the matter is if you're not actively showing up to the White House, everywhere Donald Trump goes, actively protesting the way you are showing up outside of every other place Kamala Harris is showing up to protest, you are not serious about hearing it. Because in 2025, if Kamala Harris says, okay, guys, you know what? You're right. I should have called it a genocide. How does that help Palestinians in 2025? What changes? The only thing that changes is how you personally feel, and you're not affected by the conflict. It would be nice for her to say it, for sure. I'm not going to hold Kamala Harris in September of 2025 to a standard. You're not holding any other actual voted in president. Because I can see if you were protesting Joe Biden. I get that. I understand that. I can see if you were protesting Obama. I could see if you were protesting Clinton, Bush, all of those presidents that were elected that had been continuously aiding Israel. I could see that. But it doesn't make sense that you're pissed off that Kamala Harris didn't get as many votes as she possibly can and also condemn a U.S. ally while doing it. It is a joke, and it makes me further realize most people that just heard about Palestine in 2023 don't actually know how government works, because if you gave Kamala Harris the chance to do the things she wanted to do after she got elected and she didn't do it, absolutely, she's a one-term president. That makes sense. But you wanted this lady to fix a problem with zero resources and zero support. Yes, it came to a head under the Biden-Harris administration. Absolutely. A month later, she spoke out about it in November, in December, in March, in May, kept speaking out about it. No one gave a shit because they wanted her to fix a problem that no one's been able to fix. Black women are good, but Black women aren't that good, especially when they don't have the support. And so now, on her book tour, you want her to atone for something she didn't get us in. And you want her to use her very large platform to speak out, when she was trying to use her very large platform to get elected so she could do something as opposed to just speaking about it. She didn't get elected, and now that everything that's happening in the U.S. since January under this administration, you're still telling her to ignore, to focus on the issue you didn't elect her for in the first place. And Netanyahu and Trump are actively making sure that Gaza is a parking lot that they can rebuild on. And no one's stopping them. Because had Kamala Harris, president of the United States, spoke out about the atrocities, there's a very large chance that the rest of the world would have gotten on board sooner. Because unlike Trump, Kamala Harris has empathy. And that's why you go to her protest, because you're safe. Because there's a comfort in knowing that you're not going to get shot, detained, jailed, killed. So in conclusion, let's not talk about Palestine anymore if you're not going to show the same energy.
The people that told you not to vote for Kamala Harris didn't have a plan. They told you they did, they never did. They didn't make things better. They made them worse for people here that are Black, gay, LGBTQIA+, disabled, children, the elderly. They have made it worse for all of those people, claiming it was because they supported Palestine. The situation in Palestine is deteriorating further. They also need help. Angela Davis was wise and told us, pick who you want to fight with. You all picked the fascist. Now all of us are scrambling, trying to figure out how to respond. Yeah, you didn't help anybody. You didn't help anybody. You made it worse. And the problem with you perpetually online supremacy leftists is that you are okay with people suffering because most of you move in privilege and won't be impacted by the suffering that you cause. Midterms are coming up. Vote, register people to vote. Stop engaging with the folks on the left that are acting that way. It's not worth it. So no, you didn't make things better for people that are marginalized, and you didn't make things better for the people of Palestine. You just created confusion.
Now, here's the thing, right? If Kamala had won, protesters would have every right to hold her accountable for US policies, right? But she didn't. Yet people are quick to throw this kind of heat at her, right? But they don't match the energy when it comes to Trump. Why is that, right? I think sometimes folks just want someone to blame, especially a black woman in power, right? It's selective outrage, right? But what do you think? Do you think that she should have been held responsible for something outside of her office? I mean, she's not even in office at all, right? But let me know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Also, thank you so much for tapping when you saw this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you on my next one.